Hello there and welcome. I'm Ole Brøgger, and if you're new here, I really hope I'll earn your subscription. But keep in mind, this is episode 3 of this mine cave build, and if you want to watch all the other episodes, I will link them up here. Today we are going to build the interior of the mine or the cave. I will make it some flexible terrain, and I'm going to build 9 huge tiles so I can make different setups. I'm still going to use this awful EPS foam with the bad texture, and then we're going to make a mess with some plaster. So let's get started. When I started this project, I had this idea that I wanted to make a huge cave system, and I wanted to be more versatile and use some tiles. So I started to cut up some 20mm foam of this cheap EPS foam. It really sucks working with it, but it is cheap. I wanted to make some cave tiles, and I started out making 12 tiles that were 8 by 8 inches. And I put some of them together and made some 16 by 8 tiles. I want the wall height on the caves to be maximum of 2 inches tall. And I had some foam that were 2 inches thick, so I cut some strips that were 1 inch thick and 2 inch tall. To make a bigger tile, I wanted to use my hot glue gun, but it was broken. So I used the hot glue gun from my workshop. But the heat on this gun is just too high. It melts the glue at a very high temperature and it's not adjustable. So I accidentally melted most of the foam and it didn't work very well. So I decided to use some tacky glue instead. But I just didn't have the patience to wait for this to dry, and it took almost an hour for it to dry. And my old hot glue gun, which is good, is just too hot. I decided I'll just wait a couple of days and order a new hot glue gun. And this one has adjustable heat settings, so I don't melt my foam anymore and I can work a lot faster. But the project ended up taking directions that I didn't even think of, and in the end I actually ended up with only 2 huge tiles that were 24 by 16 inches. So the first 6 tiles I made were connected with some toothpicks and hot glue to one huge mega tile. I used my handheld hot wire cutter to make some cave walls and just glue them in as I had visualized in my head. And new ideas continuously popped into my head and changes were made all the time over and over again until I was satisfied with a decent result of the first mega tile. And then I can start all over again, connecting 6 of the small tiles to build a second huge mega tile. Maybe I was just wasting my time building these small tiles, but my ideas just went over my head. So connecting, hot gluing all these tiles together, and we can start to make some walls. I used my hot wire cutter to make some walls and some rough structure. We are going to soak all this into plaster because I don't like the texture of this type of foam. I really want some narrow hallways, and it should almost be like it was a maze that the players will enter into. And then I got the idea I had some leftover bark. And I actually have more uncooked bark, so let's go fire up the barbecue. And this time I didn't overcook it. Now it is just tempered and very nice and crisp, so no charcoal here. I went directly into my bandsaw and cut my 2 pieces of bark in half. This will give me a nice amount of bark to make some cliffs and rock-like structure. I will save this bark for later, but now I have to go back and build the rest of the maze. Let's see how it all fits together. And this scenario is quite okay, but I think I want this section to be elevated, so I can have some elevated dungeon terrain. So I'll just build another blank tile for now to elevate everything. And here you can see the 2 new tiles fits perfectly with my mine entrance. But as I said, I want more elevation, so the extra tile I built is just a blank huge tile. It will fit perfectly in here. And here you can see it fits perfectly on top of that blank tile, and we have the elevation. And all the entrances are now blocked. It will require that I build some ladders and scaffolding and all the other stuff that you have in a mine. So this will be for the mine terrain, but it could also be a cave. On this tile, I will elevate the walls a bit more, just so they will stay flush with the other tile when it is elevated on top of the blank tile. And this will give me the opportunity to put in some more of the bark, just to give it some more texture where I want some gold findings and other stuff. I also put in an extra piece of bark in the maze tile. And now it's time to get messy, real messy. We're going to put some plaster on top of all the foam. And it takes a while, so lean back and enjoy all the mess. Fill in the gaps and cracks and hide all the ugly foam. This plaster is actually drying very fast. Within 20 minutes, it was already ready to give it a coat of Mod Podge. My Mod Podge is a mix of 50% Mod Podge and 50% of the cheapest black acrylic paint I could find. And this will give it a coat that will make it easier to paint. It will cover all the light stuff, and it just works to seal things up and give it a hard surface. I'll use this primer to give it a base coat. I used the Ruins and Cliffs and the Dungeon and Subterrane. This is a foam-safe spray. It's from the Army Painter, and if you just want to paint directly on foam, it won't melt. A lot of aerosol paints will melt foam, not all, but a lot of them will. But this is guaranteed safe for foam. Okay, it's time to give these 2 tiles some colors. I will start dry brushing with the cavern base. And for the gray parts I will use the dungeon base. This will also be dry brushed on. And to highlight it I use dungeon highlights. And for the more brownish colors I will highlight with cavern highlights and the cavern effects to finalize and make everything pop. All these colors are from the Army Painter's Game Master Dungeon and Caverns core set. Unfortunately, this set is not available anymore. You might be lucky to get it somewhere where they still have it in stock, but unfortunately, it is discontinued. First, I will use an old makeup brush to dry brush the cavern base. And after that is applied, I will use some burnt sienna, which is a pan pastel. This is a very dusty dry paint and it just gives it a very dusty look. And from here on, I will just start to dry brush all the highlights and effect paints. And this is done. I must say, I actually start to like maybe working with this foam and plaster because it gives me so many options to make some very nice cliff terrain. But still, I just hate it. It's just too messy, but it's cheap. This thing, it cost me maybe $10 to build all this, and that's not much. But let's have a closer look on how everything turned out. In the next video, we're going to make some scaffolding, some more mining sites, and maybe some elevated bridges and all kinds of stuff for this labyrinth and maze of caverns. Thank you so much for watching this to the end. And if you already haven't done it, please hit that subscribe button or leave a comment below and like and all that stuff. I have a couple of other videos coming up with another topic. It is not about this cave, but we will get back to this cave very soon. I really hope you enjoyed. Goodbye for now.